practice. And when you practice gratitude, because truthfully, we can always find something that we are grateful for, even when we're in dire circumstance, there is almost always something we can be thankful for. And when we acknowledge that through a ritual, so I take these habits as being a ritual, and I think that gives it more meaning for while we are doing the practice. But when we do write a gratitude list, it allows us to start seeing life through a different lens. And it might take a bit of time to get there, and there will absolutely be days where it's a challenge to find something to be grateful for. But the beauty of having a list is you can go back and use past gratitudes to help lift you up in this moment. The gratitudes are going to lift your spirit and allow you to come from a different, higher vibration than one that is looking through not a lens of gratitude, but of feeling lack or not feeling like there is enough, or whatever that may show up for each of us. But gratitude is a practice that's easy and within each of our reach to have in a daily life, and yet its impact is huge.
Absolutely. Well, even when you're saying that and talking about, some days it is really hard to find the things to be grateful for, but there always is something, and coming from that place and being in a place of gratitude instead of in that place of lack mentality or a low vibration. Because if I would have been in that low vibration or lack mentality, or you would have been in that lack mentality or low vibration, we would not have connected. I would not have been in your frequency. We would have, or you would not have been in mine. We would have missed one another. And it's amazing how we think, being grateful, you're like, I'm grateful all the time. But it is a practice of really being able to notice what is it that I am grateful for, and feeling it, not just, I'm awake. Yes, yay, here's another day. And taking away the true deep meaning of what it is to be alive in this next day. And things like this, I'm telling you, I have been flying high since you and I connected, and you told me how it was, what was going on with you when I reached out to you. And it's just like, oh my goodness, it's like the universe just does this bow and says, there you go. You guys are both perfectly on the right track. And I just adore that. I love that.
Me
Carol,
too.
I want to, yes. Just, because it's fascinating. And I know it was Bob Proctor, and I think Mary has shared this with us many times, where I believe it was Bob Proctor who says, I'm never surprised in the impossible things that happen or the synchronicities that happen, but I'm always in awe of it. And that's how, like, it's almost like I feel like I'm a balloon sometimes, just living in the different atmosphere where things happen that just don't happen to other people, only because they're just in a lack mindset, or they don't believe in anything more but the five senses, and this is the only thing that's possible, and right, all that whole entire story. And it's just this is the most phenomenal, life-giving way to live. And this is a true testament to just the way you and I got to connect on this. So I love that.
Absolutely.
But I wanted to swing back. Yes. I wanted to swing back real quick and ask you, Carol, so you said that when you do the journaling or the creative play, or even the gratitude, when you're doing any of those habits that are, so impactful on our life, that you do it as a ritual, because the ritual tends to give it more meaning. What can I ask you, or is that too personal? What kind of a ritual that you engage in when you are practicing these habits?
Yeah, thanks. Again, it depends on each individual. But for instance, I just said a quick little prayer to the universe before this call, because I want to be in service to a higher power. And allow me to be the conduit for which it flows through. So I look at every opportunity as being a time where we can presence it in this moment, in this very moment. How can I show up the best that I can be, knowing that I have a greater power that is breathing me, and let me be that source in this human form. So when I look at any of my rituals of, say, writing a gratitude, I start with a thank you to it, and call it what each of us wants to call it. Do we want to call it God, or a higher self, a higher purpose, a higher spirit, the divine, whichever. But I think making that deliberate connection, and then going forth in our moments with that knowing that we are not alone in this journey, not ever. And so how I write my gratitudes are going to come from a place of my knowing I am connected. When I create, I know that there is a source that is flowing through me. And I give gratitude for that. I give thanks for that. When I journal, please allow me to release what's no longer of service, and let me find the nuggets of truth and lesson and empowerment from the challenge I might be facing. And so it's things like that. But having a purposeful practice allows us to be present. And that, more than anything, even just picking up a book and knowing I'm going to sit and write gratitudes, if one just takes a bit of reverence for that, a little pause to say, what a gift.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Wow. Powerful. I love this conversation. Oh my goodness. And because time always goes by, like we are collapsing time, we're having this conversation, because it is a snap of a finger, a blink of an eye, and it's time to start wrapping this episode up. And it happened entirely too quick for me because I have so many more questions for you. So as I'm bringing this in for a landing, Carol, would you be willing to come back next week and continue this conversation with me?
I would be very blessed to do that. Thank you.
Oh, I would love that. Yes. Thank you. Thank you very much. Awesome. Okay. So I know that listeners are wondering, well, tell me about this book. I've heard the title of the book, but where do I get the book? So Carol, can you share with the listeners how it is that they can find your book, where it is that they can purchase that, and how, if somebody had questions for you, is there a way for them to contact you? Are you on Facebook? If you can share those. And listeners, just so you know, all of this information will be in the show notes. So if you're driving or you don't have pen and paper, don't worry. It will all be in the show notes. All that information will easily be available to you. So first of all, how do you get your book?
Thanks, Nada. It's on Amazon.com in the States and Amazon.ca in Canada. I did a self-publication, so I had the books printed, and as I said, it's a physical copy because it contains you and your spirit as you express. So it really was never intended to be an ebook. Not when it's 314 full color pages. So it is a physical copy, which right now is available, unfortunately, just in Canada and the States. But hopefully, if there are listeners afar, I could send books physically, but of course, then there's the cost of shipping and everything. But I'm on Facebook, and my website is kindredspiritstudio.com. And so I go by that, Kindred Spirit Studio, on Facebook and on Instagram. And I'm available through those methods. You can direct message me. Also, my website, you can message me through that. It also has an email address. So if one goes to my website, you can find that out too.
Okay, perfect. And again, just to be sure everybody knows, all of that information, if you weren't able to get it, will be on the show notes and on my website. So you will have easy access to this information. And I can tell you, because I own this book, I highly recommend this book. It's beautiful. The artistry in it is unbelievable. And so when we come back for part 2, I want to dive in a little bit more about the book. And then, of course, I have some other questions for you. So listeners, please be sure to join us next week for part 2. And Carol, I want to thank you for being here with us today. And thank you again for being willing to show up with us next week.
Thank you so much for this opportunity, Nada.
Absolutely. And listeners, for now, have a wonderful, blessed rest of your day and rest of your week. And be sure to tune in next week on Dare a New Belief podcast. Bye-bye for now.
Bye.
Thank you for spending time with us today. Please go to nadahogan.com for show notes and other information you can use right away. If you like what you heard here, please subscribe to our show and don't forget to rate and review right there on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Google Play, or wherever you get your shows. And don't forget to tell your friends about it. We'll see you next week.